Let me hit you with a weird fact. Elephants sometimes get so angry, they commit crimes of passion against rhinos. I'm not kidding. In one real incident, a young elephant yeeted a full-grown rhino into the air like a basketball, then strutted off like he'd just won the World Heavyweight Championship. But here's where it gets even stranger. The reason for that rampage wasn't territory. It wasn't hunger. It was puberty. Yep, you heard that right. Africa's largest land animal went on a murderous hormonal rampage because his testosterone hit harder than a pre-workout shake. But wait, the rhino isn't innocent either. That walking tank has been known to charge at jeeps, trees, and occasionally its own shadow. So who really rules the savannah? The wise old elephant with a photographic memory, or the rhino, the grumpy tank with anger management issues? Stick around, because what you're about to hear will completely change how you think of power in the animal kingdom. Go on, hit that subscribe button, cause if these two giants had social media, this would have been the wildest beef on the internet. Imagine this. You wake up in the African savannah, golden grass, sunrise glow, and the distant sound of something large farting in the wind. On one side, you've got elephants, the royal family of the wild. They travel in tight clans, care for their young, and even mourn their dead. Literally, they'll return to old elephant bones years later and just stand there, silently. Creepy, but poetic. On the other side, rhinos. Solitary, short-tempered, built like a bulldozer with legs. They don't hang out, they don't text back, and they don't do emotions. They just exist, like that one uncle who shows up at Christmas, eats everything, and leaves. Now here's where the fun begins. These two massive beasts rarely fight, but when they do, it's not just a battle, it's a clash of philosophies. The elephant rules with brains and bonds. The rhino rules with brute force and a bad attitude. So today, we're settling it once and for all. Elephant versus rhino. Who really rules the savannah? And trust me, by the end of this, you'll realize it's not who you think. First, meet the gentle giant that snaps. Let's start with the elephant. Majestic, emotional, smart. Basically the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson of nature. If The Rock had giant tusks and a trunk that could pick your pocket. But here's the plot twist. Elephants have moods. Like real human-level emotions. They can feel sadness, jealousy, and revenge. There was a village in India once where elephants started raiding houses, and it wasn't random. Turns out, poachers had killed some members of their herd earlier that year. The elephants remembered. They came back, at night, and started destroying the village where the poachers came from. Like some kind of animal mafia sending a message. And that's not rare. Elephants have memories so strong. Scientists say they recognize faces even after 20 years. So imagine annoying one in 2004, and it shows up at your door in 2025 like, remember me? But here's where it gets even more bizarre. That same intelligence makes them dangerous when stressed. Young male elephants, especially when they hit must, their hormone-raging phase, produce 60 times more testosterone than normal. And that's when things get ugly. In one case in South Africa's Pilanesberg Park, a group of teenage elephants started attacking rhinos out of nowhere. 40 rhinos killed in a few weeks. Why? Because those elephants had no older bulls to guide them. All the big males were gone, poached. So these teenagers had no role models and decided to express their teenage angst by committing war crimes. Once adult males were reintroduced, the attack stopped. So basically, even elephants need father figures. Crazy, right? But before you crown them kings, let's talk about their rival, the grumpy godfather of the plains. Second, meet the rhino, nature's tank with horned rage. If the elephant is the philosopher, the rhino is the bouncer at nature's nightclub. Rhinos are massive, up to 2.3 tons of pure muscle, with skin so thick it can deflect thorns, bites, and in some cases, even bullets. But they have one tragic flaw: they can barely see past 30 feet, meaning they'll charge first and ask questions later. Picture this: a rhino chilling in the grass. A butterfly flutters by. Rhino, "What was that?" Charges the butterfly, then stops halfway, snorts, and realizes it was just a butterfly. It literally acts before thinking. That's their whole vibe. And their horn? It's not bone. It's keratin, the same stuff your nails and hair are made of. So technically, a rhino's weapon of mass destruction is a glorified fingernail. But that fingernail can impale a lion or flip a car. And when it comes to territory, they don't mess around. They mark it with dung piles, sometimes hundreds of them. It's their version of, "Yeah, this is mine. Don't touch." Now, if an elephant walks into a rhino's turf, things get tense. But here's the twist: the rhino almost always backs off. Even though it's basically a tank on legs, it knows that the elephant, with tusks, size, and brains, is a fight not worth having. Still, that doesn't mean rhinos are pushovers. They've been seen chasing lions, flipping buffalo, and even destroying safari jeeps. They're like the Karens of the animal kingdom. If they don't like you, you're going to hear about it. So now we've got a question. If elephants rule with memory and rhinos rule with fear, what happens when they actually meet? Third, when titans collide. Let's set the scene. Dry season. Water's low. At a rare watering hole, two silhouettes appear in the heat haze. One tall and tusked, the other squat and horned. It's not a friendship meetup. The rhino steps forward, snorting. The elephant stares, trunk raised like a warning flag. Both want the same thing: water. Now, in most cases, the rhino leaves first. Because even though it's a tank, the elephant's sheer presence dominates. It's like when a bodybuilder and a sumo wrestler both walk into a gym. The sumo doesn't even have to flex. But every now and then, the rhino doesn't back down. And when that happens, it's chaos. Rhinos charge low. Elephants swing high. Tusks meet horn. Dust explodes, and the ground shakes. Usually, the rhino gets flipped like a pancake, but not always. There are cases where rhinos manage to gore elephants, especially calves or young males. Yet the real winner isn't who fights better, it's who avoids fighting smarter. Elephants use intimidation, noise, and size to win psychological wars. They're not bullies, they're politicians. Meanwhile, rhinos, they're soldiers. No diplomacy, just impact. But as the savannah changes, something surprising is happening. Their power dynamics are shifting. Big twist: the real king of the savannah. Here's the shocking truth. Neither the elephant nor the rhino really rules the savannah anymore. You know who does? The human. Not in the cool Lion King way, in the tragic poacher and bulldozer way. Over the past century, rhino populations have dropped by 97%. Elephants, down by more than 400,000 in just a few decades. Their battles now aren't against each other, but against survival itself. And yet, nature still has a poetic sense of balance. When elephants are removed, rhino numbers actually drop, because elephants shape the land, creating the open spaces rhinos need to graze. Without elephants, the grasslands close up. Without rhinos, overgrowth clogs the soil. So the truth is, they need each other. They're not rivals, they're architects of balance. If you zoom out far enough, the battle between them isn't about dominance, it's about coexistence. But since we all love a dramatic verdict, here's how it really stands. Raw power, rhino wins. It's the UFC fighter of the wild. Intelligence and strategy, elephant wins. It's the chess grandmaster. Survival and adaptability, still undecided, because that depends on us. So maybe the real ruler of the savannah isn't the one with tusks or horns, but the one who remembers and respects the balance. So tell me, if you had to pick a side, are you Team Rhino, the grumpy tank who charges first and thinks later? Or Team Elephant, the wise, moody giant who never forgets? Drop your pick in the comments. Let's see who wins this digital showdown. And hey, if you thought this was wild, wait till you hear about the hippo versus crocodile feud, a rivalry so insane it makes this one look like kindergarten beef. That one's coming up next week. So make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell, and prepare for the most chaotic water fight in nature's history. Because on BejayvirgoTV, we don't just talk about nature, we expose its drama. Until next time, remember, in the wild, size matters. But attitude, that's everything.